will be chaired by Ashis Nandy, Honorary Fellow, Center for the Study of Developing Societies, Delhi. And the speaker would be J Boillot, Economist, CEPII, France. The topic for this lecture is Arthashastra, the paradox of modernity in ancient times and beyond. This would be a 40-minute lecture followed by 10 minutes question and answer session. May I request the chairperson to take over the proceedings?
And then introduce him for 45 minutes. but unfortunately, I know little about him. But I hope we will make it an interesting session, because I am interested on the subject on which he is speaking. This is a subject on which economics have never spoken. I have seen international relations person writing on Modernity and Jubilee. I have seen political scientists writing on ADRI. I have seen even sociologists writing, believe it or not. But economists almost never, or probably never, but maybe I am wrong, you will correct me.
It's always a pleasure to be with you. Sorry, I want to start with some slides, so that can you hear me well, or is it fine like this? Good, good. Can you see? Okay, so I know that I always talk too much, so at least I will show some slides so that you get.
I should go there.
Yeah, no, one here. So that you get the main conclusion of that work. So I'm very pleased to know that I'm the first economist to talk on Arthashastra. Good. Good. I'm not sure, because you will see the critical appraisal of Arthashastra by an economist, especially a French economist, is very bad. It's very bad. And this is my conclusion. Economists should have worked more on Arthashastra, so that maybe India would get a better economic policy theory. So, critical appraisal, why? I've been working for so many years in India. I started, I discovered Arthashastra in the 80s, mid-80s. I was in Delhi at ADRI, working on my PhD. I was fascinated by this book. No one can defeat a powerful mind. Well. Today, even more. You find Arthashastra everywhere. And not only today, in the speech of President of India. And they are best-selling books. Radha Krishnan Pillai, he sold 1 million copies, he told me, on corporate Chanakya. 1 million copies, a rich man, no? And why is it so popular? Because you see on the right, the black economy in India. Actually, you have different economy in India, no? One very popular. And this is what I call the confusion between 4 aspects of the Indian economy and Indian economic philosophy. You have on one side, you know, at the top, the theoretical reference of the Indian management tradition of the old treaties. But you have also a disconnection with the Indian real world, mentalities, effective practices. And I should, my next book, because my book on Chanakya will be published in France at the end of this month, my next one is already on my table. This is Panchatantra, the economics of Panchatantra. And this is what I call the Indian real world. But then you have a third level, the structure of, and mentalities or mindset, let's say, of the Indian real capitalism. the caste, you know, the business group. They have their own philosophy, mindset, and practices. And within the group, you have so many subgroups. Can you compare the Parsi with, let's say, the Reliance Group or the Vipro Bora ethic? No. And last, not least, and this is the India of today, you have what I call the nano-capitalism. No? Nano because nano car, but it's much more than the nano car. This is the emergence of innovative, specific business model, seen as Indian model, the jugaad, the frugal, and myself, I'm working more and more between Africa and India to get the best of the Indian innovative experience, and also because Africa is also very much innovative. And there's, I think, a large space for cross-fertilization of the two continents. So this is my outline, but I will not show this. My main point is, and I found it in this book, Strategy of Economic Development. It's an old book, 1958, written by my guru, Albert Hirschman. A very interesting theoretical framework to assess to what extent the economics inside Arthashastra is conducive to innovation, to economic development or not. And I must say immediately the answer is no. And just the proof is that when I landed in Delhi last week, one of the best-selling books is Crooks, Crook Minds, and Kiran Karnik. Everybody knows Kiran Karnik. No? He's the man who made NASCOM such a powerful lobby. NASCOM is the IT industry, and nobody can deny that without NASCOM and the IT industry, India won't be what it is today. Why I love this book? Because the title, Crook Minds. But if you check how many times in the Arthashastra you find crooks, you will be surprised. The Arthashastra is a typical example of how a state must control, liquidate the crooks. Can you see? Okay, so I know that I always talk too much, so at least I will show some slides so that you get. Yeah, one year. So that you get the main conclusion of that work. So I'm very pleased to know that I'm the first economist to talk on Arthashastra. Good. Good. I know. I'm not sure because you will see the critical appraisal of Arthashastra by an economist, especially a French economist, is very bad. It's very bad. And this is my conclusion. Economists should have worked more on Arthashastra. So that maybe India would get a better economic policy theory. So, critical appraisal, why? I've been working for so many years in India. I've started, I discovered Arthashastra in the 80s, mid-80s. I was in Delhi at ADRI, working on my PhD. I was fascinated by this book. No one can defeat a powerful mind. Well. Today, even more. You find Arthashastra everywhere. And not only today, in the speech of President of India. And they are best-selling books. Radhakrishnan Pillai, he sold 1 million copies, he told me, on corporate Chanakya. 1 million copies, he's a rich man now. And why is it so popular? Because you see on the right, the black economy in India. Actually, you have different economy in India, no? One very popular. And this is what I call the confusion between 4 aspects of the Indian economy. and Indian economic philosophy. You have on one side, on the top, the theoretical difference of the Indian management tradition of the old treaties. But you have also a disconnection with the Indian real world, mentalities, effective practices, and I should, my next book, because my book on Chanakya will be published in France at the end of this month, my next one is already on my table. This is Panchatantra, the economics of Panchatantra. And this is what I call the Indian real world. But then you have a third level, the structure of and mentalities or mindset, let's say, of the Indian real capitalism. The caste, the business group, they have their own philosophy, mindset, and practices. And within the group, you have so many subgroups. Can you compare the Parsi with, let's say, the Reliance Group or the Vipro Bora ethic? No. And last, not least, and this is the India of today, you have what I call the nano-capitalism. Now, nano because nano car, but it's much more than the nano car. This is the emergence of innovative, specific business model, seen as Indian model, the Jugaad, the Fugal, and myself, I'm working more and more between Africa and India to get the best of the Indian innovative experience, and also because Africa is also very much innovative, and there's, I think, a large space for cross-fertilization of the two continents. So this is my outline, but I will not show this. My main point is, and I found it in this book, Strategy of Economic Development. It's an old book, 1958, written by my guru, Albert Hirschman. A very interesting theoretical framework to assess to what extent the economics inside Arthashastra is conducive to innovation, to economic development or not. And I must say immediately the answer is no. And just to prove is that, when I landed in Delhi last week, one of the best-selling books is Crook Minds, and Kiran Karnik. Everybody knows Kiran Karnik. No? He's the man who made NASCOM such a powerful lobby. NASCOM is the IT industry, and nobody can deny that without NASCOM and the IT industry, India won't be what it is today. Why I love this book? Because the title, Crook Minds. But if you check how many times in the Arthashastra you find crooks, you will be surprised. The Arthashastra is a typical example of how a state must control, liquidate the crooks. When actually what is arguing is that without crooks, you don't have innovation. Okay? And I think it's very relevant for the discussion about India politics today. To what extent Modi model is not very close to Arthashastra model of a very authoritarian state, which state that we have to improve the governance. Yes, but how? To what extent this economics leaves some room for innovation, private sector? That remain, I think, to be tested. I was very much surprised, interested by the statement of the President of India. He's a strong supporter of Arthashastra. I know him for decades. He was a very strong supporter of planning as well. But I think Indian economists should also take some time, relax, read again Arthashastra, and try to make a critical appraisal of Arthashastra. So my lecture would be on the very positive side of Arthashastra, but also in the second part, why we need to go much beyond. There are very strong limits of the doctrine of the state in Arthashastra. So, since I have a long text, maybe not the time to present everything. I'll try to focus on the main aspect. So, first is why the Arthashastra remains a modern and innovative treatise still relevant today. There are three aspects of that question. First is the so-called discipline of the king. This is the first book of Arthashastra, and my book in French is mostly on that book. Why? Because we know that the crisis of governance today is mostly due to the lack of proper leaders. Everywhere. And the question is, why do we have bad leaders everywhere in the world? You may have two explanations, but I think one is you can find in the Arthashastra how the leaders are trained, educated, and then selected. What kind of criterion as a citizen you use to select leaders? And I must say that 25th century after Arthashastra, what is written in the Arthashastra remain, I think, perfectly true. For instance, Chanakya said, by rejecting all the six enemies, the wise king is the one who masters the organ of the sense. We have the case of Mr. Trump. But you know, Mr. Trump kind of leaders you find everywhere now. Master the organ of the senses. Number two, acquire wisdom through his relationship with the elders. My God, my God. Even in France, we have Macron, the new sex appeal of the media. He is 36 years old. He has no experience at all. He doesn't listen to any elders. Three, keep his eyes open thanks to his spies. Okay, this may be true still today. In the case of Hollande, that is clear. But if you look at Trump, example, in many countries, the leaders today do not have this kind of spies with good information, relevant information. Four is guarantee the well-being and security of the people by being always active. A good leader has to be always very active. And this is true that in the case of India, Narendra Modi has made the difference. Everybody knows what Rahul is doing most of the time, except working. Nitish Kumar is very popular, I think, also because of that. But there are many leaders in the world who are not very active. Fourth or fifth, set an example or to his people by doing his duty in this exercise of power. And last, increase his mental discipline by always furthering his knowledge of the sciences. And what is very interesting in the Arthashastra, book 1 on discipline, is that the first to be disciplined must be the king. Now, we are not anymore in aristocratic regime, and the history has shown that this kind of regime cannot last. People or citizens want to choose their leaders. So it may be that there is a contradiction between having a good leader, like it is trained in the Arthashastra, and the leader which is picked up and selected by the citizen. As Winston Churchill said, no? Democracy is the worst of all systems of government, except all the others that has been tried from time to time in history. But Churchill was referring not to the leaders per se, to the person, but he was referring to the system of institutions protecting minorities, individuals, which we now refer to as the rule of law, but actually this is the question of the balance of power. We know that this is the only way to sustain in the long run democracy and economic development. Now, this is very relevant, I think, because in the case of India, it's not only the case of India, but if you compare the experience of Trump and the case of India, what we must be sure of is to what extent there is still a balance of power. There is no good man or good woman or good leader or bad leader, even if it's trained according to the Arthashastra, first book on discipline. This is the reverse. Good institutions produce good leaders. Can we see like this? So just, you can still read the book 1 Arthashastra, but instead of focusing on the leader, of the king, you just ask yourself whether or not the institutions can provide the quality of the king mentioned in Arthashastra. Interestingly, in the case of Trump, the US system still looks very good. That guy, maybe, I don't know, it's not a question of good or bad guy, but there's a balance of power, and the US institutions look very resilient. Now, in the case of India, I don't know, but what has happened the last 2 years is a big change in the institutions. Do we have still a balance of power between the President, Prime Minister, the Legislative Assembly, the Judiciary, the press, etc.? That's a question which remains to be seen. I want to go directly now to the multifunctional state. As an economist, we have been for the last 50 years confronted to a huge debate on different schools. The so-called liberals with the minimal state, and the other school at the other extreme is the dirigist school. The state must act in the economic sphere. So on one hand, the liberals, state must just provide a basic law and order regime, and on the extreme opposite, the interventionist, dirigist, etc. Now, what is interesting in the Arthashastra is that the state must be, at the same time, liberal. It must protect the entrepreneurs. It must be also entrepreneur itself. It must be also socially involved. There is a welfare state theory behind the Arthashastra, and ultimately it has to be the regulator of the economic life. Now I want to quickly take all these four functions. Most of the economists are proponents of one school, and you know, this is typically the Indian mindset. It's a holistic approach. It's a holistic approach. The state can be A, B, C, and D at the same time, instead of being either A or C. Now, first, the state must be primarily economically liberal, because the country wealth rests primarily on the work of entrepreneurs. That is true. Most of the Arthashastra clearly stated that wealth comes from the entrepreneurs. To develop his country, I quote, a king will not hesitate to call on migrant workers, build or have new towns, built to relieve the burden on established cities. It's referring to Delhi, I think. He will lease arable land in exchange for royalties. Uncultivated land will be granted to those ready to work for it. A king with a depleted treasury undermines the very vitality of his subject. He will have to grant tax exemptions for the creation of new businesses. And also, the king will protect businesses from all fiscal harassment and oppressive fines, as well as from thieves, tigers, venom. There were plenty at the time, no? And so, this is the first, let's say, function of the state. It has to be liberal. Now, function 2. But the state must be also an entrepreneur and largely involved in economic activity also. Why? First, to consolidate its own power, and that is not a stupid idea. In circumstances where there are short-term fiscal difficulties, it needs its own revenue. But also because of what we call today externalities, whether positive or negative, such as construction of irrigation canals, natural disaster. Only the state can provide these externalities. Entrepreneurial state. The king will have to support mining, industrial undertakings, promote livestock and trade, build roads, canals, commercial areas. It will also create reservoirs, promote irrigation. If others undertake such work, it will help them by providing roads, timber, and other equipment. But what is striking in the Arthashastra is that the state has a mere monopoly over most industrial activities and infrastructure, and I will discuss that point. Third function, the state must be also a socially minded state, or what we call today a welfare state, and that's, I must tell you, I know well the literature in China. It's 7 minutes, good. And to that extent, Arthashastra is really a modern treaty. There was no reference in the past of this welfare function. The state will ensure that orphans, elderly, sick, afflicted, helpless meet their basic needs, as well as women in need when they are pregnant or have just given birth. 4, the purpose of the state is to protect the people and to ensure the happiness of the people, of all the people. This is the inclusive global theory, 25th century ago. Last function of the state must be a regulatory state in the name of the principle stated in the fable of the fishes that every Indian know, I think, because I can pronounce the Matsya, Yaya, Bayati. So, thank you so much. Anyway, it's a very famous fact now. But I quote, when the rigorous law is no longer exercised, disorders like those related to the fable of the fish arise. In the absence of a magistrate, the strong swallow the weak, whereas under his protection, the weak resist the strong. Now, I want to enter the second part. What are the limits of the doctrine of the state? And why it's important in India to have more economists to read that treaty and to make a critical appraisal of the treaty. My central hypothesis is very simple. By placing too much emphasis on equilibrium and stability, Kautilya in the end developed a theory of the state that is not conducive to engender endogenous growth, and in particular was not productive of such innovations and imbalances that are necessary to drive developmental process forward. I would like to illustrate this thesis by contrasting the economic work of Albert Hirschman and highlight 5 mechanisms. 5 minutes I have? 5 mechanisms. Dominance. Okay. First of all, but the paper will be available now. First mechanism. The concept of progress conceived exclusively or essentially for the benefit of the group, of all the society, can actually paralyze the aspirations for change in individuals and thus the implementation of their innovations. There is no room for innovation in Arthashastra. No room. Number 2, in a society where investment decisions are centralized by the state or controlled by corporations, corporations is a very crucial institution in Arthashastra. One can expect a very low incentive to implement innovations simply because they have cost. Listen well. Innovations always have cost, at least in the short term, for the community as a whole, because you have winner and loser, but there are people who suffer in the community, or for the existing producers, and even more so when they are forced to join corporations. We know very well that corporations are always opposing technological change. Number 3, a state that dominates the economy and assumes the leading role in the development of infrastructure, which is clearly the case of Arthashastra, is likely to fall into the trap of an excess of unnecessary or useless infrastructure, instead of responding adequately to the pressure linked to the development of the private activities. We know plenty of examples like that. Number 4, or let's say 4, model of Hirschman, which is useful to reassess Arthashastra. Between the two roles of the state, promoter of development or mitigator of pressure and imbalances arising from the activity of the private agents, an excess of the first role, promoter, will necessarily be to the detriment of the second function, which is mitigating the imbalances and pressure. And last but not least, while it is much more difficult to carry out political and administrative tasks because they are essentially human, a state involved too much in physical production, like in the Arthashastra, risk not devoting enough resources to the institutional and human investment necessary for an effective administration, especially since a purely, let's say, autocratic approach is doomed to paralyze the very need for innovation within the state and the administration itself. I hope that I make clear this 5 critique, which is only 5, based on Hirschman's vision of economic development. But to conclude, this is what I was saying. My impression is clearly that Arthashastra is a very bad book on economics to trigger economic development, because there is absolutely no room for crooks, for innovation. And I was wondering, Mr. President, if the reason why the Maurya Empire actually was flourishing, that's true. But it was first of all expanding. And it gets rich because of this imperialism. If you look at the history of the Maurya Empire, it was war. What war? And his treasury full because, thanks to this predation of the kings. Actually, very interestingly, the Maurya Empire, I think, used not at all the first part of Arthashastra on economic development. He used the second part of the treatise, which is on military and diplomacy, compared to Sun Tzu, Art of War in China. They are very similar. So if the Maurya dynasty mainly used imperialism, what we call today imperialism, to get its resources abroad, maybe it's because its economic model could not support indigenous growth. And the reason being, very simply, because there were no room for innovation. If I compare China and India at that time, it is true. In terms of technological change, China was much superior to India. And the reason being that in China, there were not much expansion outside, but they focused mostly on their empire. And they developed very much the technology in agriculture, but also in industry. China was far more superior technologically than India, and I think that this is why it's very worthwhile to read again the Arthashastra with different eyes. Maybe the Economist can help a little bit to reappraise what is effective, interesting, and what is also a very big limit. Why? Because I do believe that Narendra Modi is following clearly the Arthashastra recommendation. That's very strange, but if you try to interpret what is the economic policy today, it looks like very much what is written in Arthashastra, but also CEPII. We have to see whether or not the way Nitish Kumar, despite ideologically very different from Narendra Modi, is not to a certain extent following also this kind of economic model. Thank you for your attention.
Excellent. I'm very shocked. Before I open up this for a discussion, I will take 2 minutes to sum up the 2 or 3 main themes which one should know before. This is for the speaker who has been working on this, and for other economic aspirants who might decide to work on a comparison of Chanakya, or as they have it in the PhD culture of India, a comparison between Chanakya and Machiavelli. The interest in Chanakya and his position in India, whatever may be his other sources apparently, is this, that somehow or other, towards the fag end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th, Indians developed this feeling that the magical clue, the magic that explains Western success as in statecraft, as opposed to the Indian practice of statecraft, experience of this was the colonialism taught them, was this, that the West had a Westphalian nation state. The Westphalian nation state was the ultimate clue, the magic key for its success. So instead, their interest in Chanakya, which was never high. If you go back to the older works on the classic Indian classics, is actually interested in Machiavelli and searched for an Indian Machiavelli, which Chanakya was not. Chanakya was not. But they read him that way. And only I saw only one person who kind of deviates from this a little bit was a Bangladeshi expert on international relations who wrote a PhD dissertation for a Canadian university on Chanakya, which looks at Chanakya with a slightly different kind of an eye, a kind of post-colonial eye, I must say. So that is one. The second point I want to make is this: the beauties of the nation state, or the possible charms of the nation state you have talked about, may be there for many Indians now. It is there for the present regime, which has initiated a new dark age in Indian public life, perhaps, some would say. But as against that, there is a very long tradition, starting with Buddhism and the Vedanta, the most prestigious philosophical system out of the sort of the six systems of philosophy which have dominated India, to all the way down to M.K. Gandhi, is a stream which in English you can not identify with anything else, anarchism. This anarchistic stream has been consistently a part of Indian traditions. The reason for this is perhaps this, I am guessing, perhaps this, that the dependence and the demand from the state in India emanates from the belief, which you also conveyed, that if you can develop the right kind of institutions through innovations, creativity, and inspired guesses, if I may say so, you obviate the necessity of the social engineering of the individual good or bad, that doesn't enter the scene that much. As opposed to that, I might perhaps quote Gandhi, who believed, and said so in so many words, that the West has been trying to develop such perfect institutions that it obviates the need to be good personally, or personal choices, to be inspired by ethics or anything for that matter. And I think there is this thing, this part of the story, also built into Indian consciousness. I will close here, but I will still a brief theme, mention a brief theme from the Ramayana. After Ram had come to power in Ayodhya, the demon king Ravana has been defeated and destroyed. He heard of his citizens demanding a test of fidelity for CEPII, his wife, Queen. Now, Queen. Ram did believe in the fidelity of his wife. He was convinced of that, though Sita had been abducted by the demon king Ravana. But he also agreed for the public testing of Sita's fidelity. Anyway, that's a different story. She is exiled. But without entering the kind of discussion we are entering into, the writer of Ramayana, Valmiki, the Sanskrit Ramayana, makes sure that ever after this episode, Sita never addresses her husband as Aryaputra or Swami, husband or gentleman. She always addresses him as Rajan. The implication being this, that you have done your duty as a king. You have spoken for institutions. You have spoken for the people. You have not done the ethical duty of a husband and a person. This clash has remained in Indian society and culture and civilization even now. And I do believe now that Westphalian nation state is facing so many crises, I am convinced that time has come for thinking of the relationship between institutions and individuals, the state and the people, and ethics, the place of ethics in a domain where ethics was seen as a liability and a romantic illusion has come. Thank you very much. Now, 3 questions we will take. Please brief. I am told that there is not much time now. And if you are break, in fact, we will lose out on the tea because the next is a break for tea. So if you had not had enough tea in your earlier break, you can continue this. Go on. Yeah, I saw somebody putting up his hand here. Who was that? Soiba, you want to speak? Okay. Meghna. Pardon me? कर दिए भाई उनको सेट कर दिया
This is a wonderful opportunity for us to have. This is a wonderful opportunity to have a debate between a world-famous psychoanalyst of the Indian mind and a French economist looking at a pre-modern Indian thinker. What I have not understood is the use of the word paradoxical in your title. If you had said puzzling, I would have understood. I would have understood that you find in Kautilya elements of capitalism that should not be there because capitalism is a modern thing. What we find instead, and I think it's an original idea in you, is why capitalism could not have grown in classical India. This is the argument of Max Weber, but Max Weber comes in from a different angle. That you may make money, but you must stop at some point, because money cannot be an excuse for its own accumulation. That must be dharma. So Max Weber's argument is spirituality constitutes an upper limit on how much you can accumulate. So Protestant ethic and the rise of capitalism dismisses the possibility of capitalism in India. Where I find a convergence between you and Max Weber is your discovery that there is no crookery. The king will catch you out because you are breaking the moral code. And if you are breaking the moral code, you are going to create a challenge to legitimacy. Because quintessentially for me, Kautilya's Arthashastra is an arrangement of power in the patrimonial state to create order. Not more and not less.
Three short comments. First of all, I don't know how much we read into Kautilya, which Kautilya did not intend, because we start from modern economics and we translate it into our terms. Secondly, it is no surprise that the Maurya state was basically interested in conquest, as were all states, until Adam Smith explained that prosperity comes from division of labor, not from marauding. And until Adam Smith says that, nobody has the idea that economics can actually lead to prosperity. So we're reading back into Kautilya. And thirdly, if I'm correct, Arthashastra was not discovered in India till the 20th century. So the happily they all lived and robbed and looted and prospered without anything in Arthashastra. And just one comment about what Subrata said. Hindus may have spirituality, but Jains could make money, Buddhists could make money, and they did. So I don't think accumulation was impossible in India.
Okay, take perhaps otherwise these two questions are weighty enough for the. Right. Yes, but nobody has raised his hand. And you have opted out of okay.
And the whole of the lecture, I think, is not really the open debate like in the seminar. So I hope at least that I have infused some interest in the way we should think in a very critical way about this old treaty, which I don't understand why. Maybe on the French side, we always are too much critic. But in India, there is a very poor capacity to critique all this former treaty writing, etc. I'm not sure it's because of the religious character of these books. This has to see something different, which is maybe the way the Indian society functions. Too much still hierarchy. You are not free to think. We maybe are too much free, but we have to find the balance. So, thank you for your question about the paradox. Where is the paradox? In one sentence like this, you find in the Arthashastra all the elements of a modern state, all, for the first time, according to my knowledge, in the history, to find a modern theory, or a theory of a modern state, including in economics. And as I was saying, it's a very balanced theory of four functions of the state. Liberal, let's say pro-entrepreneur, but also entrepreneur himself, and also welfare and regulator. Very sophisticated, well described. Now, why is it that there is a paradox? Because the politics of Arthashastra at the same time kill any possibility to develop a modern economy. Is it clear like that? Yeah? Maybe I respond to your remark about till Adam Smith, we never know. No, I disagree. Because if you take the GDP per capita in China, I'm talking about per capita. The innovation in China, they were much more developed than in India at that time. To what extent it was for the private accumulation, that's clearly not the case. So the Chinese system, the Chinese economics has to be studied a little bit more also, because it's a very particular system. Still, I believe that China continues to follow its own mindset. We have not yet discovered what is the Chinese economics, if I may say like this. It's not a question of genetics. It's a question of how each society creates its own model of economic development. I just want to finish about one thing. I am impressed by the Arthashastra. I'm very happy that I've shown the limit of the economic model beyond. I hope that it will be useful for the Europeans to get a better understanding in politics of the whole balance between ethic, which is individual morality, and the institutions. Very strong point. He made a very strong point. But I want to mention also another economics in India. If I compare a new Swaraj, in Swaraj, the Gandhi program in, I think, 1919, you have another economics. We have maybe also a post-modern economics in Swaraj, which is much more ecological, much more micro design, and I would suggest that Indians, or at least Indian economists, rediscover what is the economic model of in Swaraj, and try to see whether or not, because I love this country, you have a capacity to include every kind of model which looks contradictory in a very holistic manner. Like, you know, the Hindu religion, the gods have thousands of quality and defect, etc. So try to mix together what is the economics of Arthashastra and what is the economics of Swaraj. Because Swaraj is an economy built from bottom to the top, whereas the Arthashastra is an economics built from the top. And I will work a little bit more on the economics of Swaraj. Small is beautiful. Still remain for the 21st century a key to understand how you can trigger, sustain, stimulate local innovation and full employment at local level, since we know that the states are not able to provide such sustainable. Thank you.
Well, I wish you good luck, though I must warn you that economists are the most incorrigible lot in the world. Thank you very much indeed for your questions.
I would like to thank our chairperson and our speaker. There's a slight announcement. We request all conference participants to find time in the next 5 days to allow ADRI to record your views on camera. This won't take more than 4 or 5 minutes, and the team will get to you with further details of where you have to be. Tea will be served in the room right outside, and we will start again at 5 p.m. There's a slight change in program as well. So now at 5:10 minutes, yes. And there's a slight change in program that at 5:55, the lecture, we'll have a speaker. There's a slight change. YK Alak will be speaking on managing rivers, the National Water Framework Law. So we'll meet in 10 minutes.